welcome everybody back to another episode of the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and as always, as you can see, I'm joined by my illustrious co-host and good friend, Mr. Adam Cousins. Adam, good evening, sir. You all right, mate?
Good evening. Yeah. I'm just memorizing the speech for my best mate's wedding tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I've done a few of them, mate. They're always you got to have that comedy value in there, mate.
It's going to be
you're a funny guy. You'll be fine.
It's going to be a work shoot. So.
It's gonna just start hitting people with chairs.
And then at the end, I just drop the mic.
Yeah, what goes wrong, mate? Just 3D someone for a table.
Sit in there with the legs crossed like punk. Yeah.
We're doing a bit of a different show today, mate. It's been out on Twitter. A lot of people have been doing their top 10 best wrestlers of all time. You and I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and do anything like this yet since you and I joined forces with the podcast. We've been so busy with interviews and review shows and UK promotions and stuff. So we thought, while we've got a bit of time, we've got a spare night, you and I are going to go through the top 10 wrestlers of all time. Today, we're just going to do male wrestlers. We'll do the females at a later date, hopefully in the next couple of weeks or something. But this was going off a tweet that I saw got posted, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. Me and you were talking about this. I think when I met up with you in London, you and I were talking about this. So the top 10 in this lists as number 10, Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, The Undertaker. Number 8, Bret the Hitman Hart. Number 7, Andre the Giant. Number 6, Shawn Michaels. Number 5, John Cena. Number 4, Ric Flair. Top 3 of all time, according to this list. 3, The Rock. Number 2 was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And number 1 was Hulk Hogan. That list got you and I thinking. It got us talking. We've tweeted it out all day today. Some people have sent us their list, which we're going to go through in a minute. Such a hard thing to do in this as being a wrestling fan. I mean, before we get into our top 10s, and people have kindly tweeted us in their top 10s. Depends the way I look at this, it depends what era you really did watch wrestling from. Because looking at that, apart from Andre the Giant, Ric Flair, that's pretty much 90s, 2000s wrestlers. That's a lot of attitude era. Hulk Hogan, okay, he's in there, but he was heavily involved in the attitude era, albeit with WCW. And that was more Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Yeah. We'll get that to in a little bit. One of my friends put Hollywood Hulk Hogan in, not Hulk Hogan. He put Hollywood in his top 10 of all time. It does depend what era you're from, because I think someone mentioned to us on our Twitter feed at HTTBuckle earlier, you could, in that list, there's no mention of a Mr. Perfect. There's no mention of a Macho Man, Randy Savage. There's no mention of Jake the Snake Roberts, the Big Boss Man. The 80s, it's not forgotten, because you and I grew up watching it in the 80s. But all these lists I see nowadays, I think to myself, either I'm very old, which I am. These grey hairs are real. Sorry, I just didn't mean to mention hair. No worries. But it does depend what era you grew up with, Ads, done it? I mean, What do you think when you see these lists? Are you thinking, my God, how... some people have tweeted us today, has John Cena made this top 10 list? Someone tweeted us, Roman Reigns needs to be in that discussion now of greatest of all time. So before we get into all our top 10s, which you and I are going to do, and we'll go through all the listeners' top 10s and people that have kindly tweeted us in, what do you make of these lists? How do you categorize it yourself?
It's difficult. I mean, I saw a list on Twitter. People had like William Regal and stuff like that. The greatest wrestlers of all time is different to the greatest of all time. Mm-hmm. Greatest wrestlers mean the in-ring ability of that particular person. The greatest of all time are people that have changed the business. Mm-hmm. So there's a big difference. And yes, there is, the list that you saw, that was brought from an app called Chat GPT. I downloaded it and had a look at it as well. I was putting things like top 10 ECW wrestlers and top 10 WCW guys. So it was, it kind of split it up. So I think it's really based on, if we're talking greatest of all time, there's another one that be the greatest wrestlers of all time, because they fit a different category to the greatest of all time.
Yeah, if we're talking wrestlers, as in ring ability, I'm putting Bret Hart number 1.
I'd put Angle and then Bret.
Yeah,
but then
don't really want to mention his name in this podcast, but Chris Benoit. Wrestler. I'm purely wrestling.
You have to look at that from a standpoint of we're not talking about the person.
No, we're talking on the mat. You know,
on the ring work.
Bret Hart never had. I don't remember him having a bad match, and he was in there. You know, he was in there with Skinner and the Dumpster Josie at times.
He was on a show the other week.
Have you seen? Yeah, I saw it. He's still going out and doing
MLW.
the indies. Yeah, I saw something about that. I reach out to him. Let's try and get him on a podcast. But someone like Bret, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle. Eddie Guerrero wasn't. He's not even in this. A lot of the list that we've got through today that we're going to get through it in a minute. Eddie Guerrero wasn't in it. A Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Nope,
wasn't in it. There's so many. This is so subjective, and it's so like everyone's got an opinion on this. But let's get to our top 10, Ad. So let's get to your top 10 first, my friend. If you want to go from 10 to 1 or 1 to 10, whatever you want, mate.
I didn't really put it in a 1 to 10 order, actually, but I will rephrase it and do it in a 10. My number 10 is Jericho. Okay. Now, the simple reason I put Jericho in there is because we have to look at the greatest of all time and the impact that Jericho has had on the business. Now, regardless of what you think of his work in AEW, he has not only gone there and stayed and made a new company along with the people like the Bucks and Omega, he's also reinvented himself to keep himself relevant with the times that have changed. So for me, he gets my number 10 spot. He was great in the ring. He cuts a great promo. He probably made a shit ton of money for wherever he's been. Maybe not so much WCW, but that was early days. And he probably had, which was another thing we can do, the top 10 greatest debuts.
Monday Night Raw, mate, with The Rock.
With The Rock. So I've put Jericho in at 10.
Okay. My 10, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Okay. Yeah, great mind.
Great mind for the business. I mean, we hear it all the time nowadays. We heard it about you and I on a show maybe a couple of months ago. We're talking about Bray Wyatt when we're talking about the WrestleMania build-up, when we were saying great creative mind. If you want to see a great creative mind in the wrestling business and an in-ring performer, now I think it's very underrated. And by the way, never won a WWF title. He didn't win an IC belt, did he? Either?
I don't recall him ever winning one.
No, I don't. Tag champion.
Not that I can recall.
No. Wow. See, this is what I'm saying. Yeah, you have a Google. I'll talk to myself. But yeah, if we're talking in the ring ability and someone with a great creative mind, for me, Jake the Snake Roberts is in for number 10. I know he obviously had his issues outside of the ring, but we're talking purely for everything that he brought to the industry. His promos were amazing. People still look to him now for promo advice. I remember seeing an interview with The Rock once, and he was like one of the first people he spoke to when he was coming up in the industry about promos was Jake the Snake Roberts. And for me, he was such an underrated talent. And you can go through people like, if you look at people like him and the British Bulldog, never won. A British Bulldog won the IC title at SummerSlam 92, never held a WWF championship. Jake the Snake, British Bulldog, plenty of people like that never won.
No, he never won Jake the Snake didn't win any WWE championship at all, apart from the Hall of Fame. That's
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is absolutely crazy. But yeah, Jake's in at my number 10. So Ads, who's number 9 for you, mate?
Probably again, my number 9 is Bret Hart.
That low down.
This
will be interesting.
The reason he's that low down isn't because, again, talented, yes. He had, Jesus, as you said, I don't remember he could go in there against, Broomstick and it'll be fantastic.
I give Vince ideas, mate.
Well, yeah.
Did you see Raw last week?
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah, exactly.
His prime ability was great. The only reason he's so far down the list is I don't know how he come aboard as the new generation guy when the new generation was around, but and he was part of probably one of the biggest. He's probably started the biggest heel character in Mr. McMahon, granted. But my thing with it is what else did he do to transcend wrestling? Is my thing. I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just saying the ones I've got above him, in my opinion,
held the WWF title. God, I don't even want
he was a 5-time champion.
IC title, one of the best matches ever. WrestleMania 6 against Roddy Piper.
he elevated the don't get me wrong, he elevated titles, but this list is all about you got to remember you got to think of how much money they made the companies as well. So it's not always you got to look at it from a other side of not just.
Oh, Bret Hart's merchandise, mate. Them glasses alone.
Yeah, he may well have done, but again, is when I go from a list, you may
No,
understand
mate. It's your
potentially,
list.
but
I'm not going to. My
it's
number 9. You might say to me, "Why the hell is he down
yeah,
this low?" My number 9 is Mick Foley.
okay.
Just again, Mankind, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, someone that's iconic in this industry. Again, his in-ring work, I think, was underrated. I know he's probably known a lot for the Hell in a Cell against the Undertaker, but if you go back to his ECW days and his the hardcore, oh my god, you think you think Dean Ambrose is good now. Go back and watch her. Go back and watch a Cactus Jack. If you ever get a chance, go on the WWE Network. I'm sure they're on there somewhere. Go and watch a Cactus Jack match from back in the 80s and 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Oh my God, mate. I mean, unbelievable some of the stuff that was out there. Even when he was on the Indies, you can go and find it. I think like late 80s and 90s, he was on the Indies and then he come into the WWF. For me, he's got to be on my list. You can't talk professional wrestling and not talk Mick Foley, in my opinion. I don't know what you think.
He doesn't make mine, but
No, well, yeah, well, you
argument.
had Bret Hart at 9. So yeah, Foley was my number 9. So number 8, ads. Who makes your number 8?
My number 8 on the list is Kurt Angle.
Get low down.
Again, low down, yeah, and again, Kurt again in ring, great promo, great. Again, he's another Bret, isn't he? In terms of you could put him in with anybody, and it would be great.
He'll have a great match.
Yeah. Come in, gold medals, great debut, great run in every company that he's been in. Again, my only thing is the ones I've got above him. I think not necessarily from a wrestling quality standpoint, but from the other elements of the business that you would class a GOAT would do more, have done more. That's
I liked comedy, Kurt.
That was fantastic.
Steve Austin, Jimmy Greco, and I don't care.
Yeah, that was
unbelievable.
Fantastic. That was
unbelievable. Yeah, but Kurt Angle his TNA run was very underrated, by the way.
Yes.
Wow.
It's just a shame he had issues.
He was the health issues caught up. I think he had a lot of fusion in his neck. And, I remember chatting to him, probably the same Comic Con you were at when I met him. And I remember asking him about his TNA run. And he was like, that run could have gone it went well, but his injuries were hindering him a lot. And that's when it kind of, the cog started turning with him. He's like, I'm coming to the end here. You know what I mean? Once your neck goes, if you're a wrestler.
Yeah, you're kind of out.
You're done. So no, number 8, Kurt Angle. My number 8 is Shawn Michaels. Got to be on a list, Mr. WrestleMania went from. We talk about Bret Hart earlier. It's interesting. I know him and Shawn, legitimate beef. Didn't like each other, but contrasting careers. Rockers, Hart Foundation, IC, World Heavyweight Champion, Hall of Fame. Pretty much followed each other through their career. For two guys that now they get on now, but their careers have pretty much shadowed each other. Shawn Michaels in-ring work, incredible.
Yeah.
Could have a match with a broomstick. The 60-minute Iron Man match at WrestleMania against Bret. Cinematic, I call it. One of the best hours of wrestling, hour plus, because it went into overtime, of wrestling that you will ever see. So for me, if you're talking top 10 of all time, you cannot have a top 10 without having Shawn Michaels in there, in my opinion. So yeah, he makes my number 8. Number 7, Mr. Adam.
You've just said him.
HBK. Exactly. So 8 for me, 7 for you. But what's your reasoning for putting him in?
Again, well, you've highlighted everything there. I think that someone that can come back from a back injury like he can and still go with the best. Obviously, we know that he had issues prior to when he left. We know that he's the first one to admit he was a prick. So right.
Substance abuse, and he admits that. Yeah, and he lost his smile. Lost his smile quite a few times.
Lost his smile. Yeah. Why? I mean, you could argue that he could be in the top 5 or 4, 3. There'll be an argument for that. But again, there's a length of time there that he missed.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was away, other people come on and done more.
Yeah. Do you remember when he come back against Triple H? He wrestled in
Yeah.
jeans. He wrestled in jeans at SummerSlam, had a bobbed haircut, and
Mhm.
legitimate and hurt his back in his first match back. I remember jumping off the side of the ring. Yeah, no, good choice, mate. Good choice. My number 7, Rowdy Roddy Piper. A lot of
Okay.
people listen. A lot of people watching this probably don't even know who he is, and that pains me to say. The millennials and there's people. Again, someone for me. You mentioned at the start of the show. It's this would be very different if we're just talking in ring wrestling careers. This but Piper might not make it, but for me, oh my god, on the stick. If we've done our top 10 promo like on the stick of all time, he's in my top 3.
Yeah.
Unbelievable on the mic. But put him up against the right opponent. Bret Hart, I mentioned it earlier, WrestleMania 6. Obviously, the first WrestleMania, Mr. T, Hogan, and stuff like that. Transcended the sport. Again, though, we mentioned it earlier with Jake. Roddy won the IC title, never won a WWF title.
No.
Never.
Never.
I can't remember, and I'm pretty. Me and you are pretty good with this kind of thing. I can't remember him competing for a WWF title. Maybe on like a Saturday night main event or something like that, or a Tuesday night in Texas. But if you think, me and you have watched wrestling, we're pretty much the same age. If you think WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series,
Yeah, he was never involved.
never really involved in like the main events, and you look at that, and again, it's the same with Jake. You look at that and you're like, sheesh. How's Rowdy Roddy Piper not involved in like? Has he never been a WWE? Has the British Bulldog never been? These kind of things. These we could do shows every day and do these kind of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, number 7, mate, is Hot Rod. I absolutely love the dude, and his entrance music was just super cool. Number 6, Mr. Adam.
Number 6 for me is Triple H.
Triple H is a bum, bro.
Yeah.
Can you hear that? Can you hear that? That's my heart breaking.
Go
on, mate. Why have you put him in there?
Well, why am I? Well, I don't think I need to say.
He has pretty much changed the business. To be fair to him,
he has. He again. We're talking about reinventions of himself. He went from this posh toff to
made his debut against Mark Mero at WrestleMania.
He did. Are you talking that one promo changed everything for him with JR?
Yes,
when he
said,
"I am the fucking game."
Was that the reformation of DX? Was it that one?
Remember
when it was just Triple H and
Puck, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it. Was it that one with JR? Or I might be thinking of another. I remember he'd done remember when DX kind of reformed. Sean had gone and he had his issues.
I'm not sure when
it cut that promo with JR in the ring, and everyone was like, "Oh, hello."
No, this wasn't an in-ring. This was a
got you.
Because he could swear. Well, I think they bleeped it out. But he
sitting down on the chairs. I remember it now. Yes, I am with you. I am with you. I think that was on. Do you remember the show Inside the WWF?
Yeah,
I think that's where I saw that.
And then once he turned into, he had new music at that point. He went from the posh music to it wasn't the game. It was my time. And then
I love the intro to that.
Oh, brilliant!
Oh, mate, brilliant.
1, 2 is this on, and then it would. I think I've still got that on my iPad.
Oh, mate, what a great ringtone!
But I mean, I think the rest speaks for itself with him. I mean, people can call him an arse kiss. He slept his way to the top. He done all this. He done all that. So what? People do it all the time anyway.
Oh, jeez, he's not the first person in the wrestling industry to do that, and he won't be the last. And he legitimately, him and Steph, you can see them.
Yeah. So, but I think it just speaks for himself. People may criticize it for being so low down the list, but there is reason.
Mate, well, he's not even in my top 10. So this is why this is such a good thing to do. He's not. You can probably tell the era that I've kind of watched it. My number 6. If I could have put him higher, you could see why I couldn't have put him higher, because who is higher. My number 6, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
Yeah,
mate. If we're just going purely wrestling promos, the look, he was a WWF wrestler from when he come out the womb. I don't know what you think, mate. Again, IC title. Never become a WWF champion. That's Jake the Snake, Mr. Perfect, all these kind of people that were never. It pains me that Mr. Perfect was never. I think he wrestled. No, that was $1 Million Man. Again, can you think of Mr. Perfect ever having a title shot in your years growing up? Like it was different when me and you were growing up. We had the Rumble, we had Mania, We had SummerSlam, we had Survivor Series. That was it. This is even before the days of then they introduced In Your House, which is good. And that was another monthly, and then that escalated into like In Your House Bad Blood, you know. But back when me and you were watching it, and I can't remember too much. I think he come close in the Rumble where Hogan won the title. I want to say the Royal Rumble 89.
Maybe.
Hogan won the title, I think, 89, 90,
Something
something like that.
Yeah.
But for me, again, Mr. Perfect, great Intercontinental champion, in-ring, amazing, promos, amazing. Everything about that man, I thought was incredible. He's one of my favorite. I could watch it again. We saw Bret Hart earlier and Jake the Snake, all these people that we're talking about. Shawn Michaels, go and watch a Mr. Perfect match. Oh, my God. When they put him and Bobby the Brain Heenan together, by the way.
Brilliant match.
Just print money. If them two were in the current product now, print money. Unbelievable. These, you know, you look around now. We admire Paul Heyman so much now. Go and watch Bobby Heenan and Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
Unreal, mate. So for me, number 6 is Mr. Perfect. Number 5, top 5 now. Here we go. Number 5, mate. Who you got?
Rock.
5?
Yeah, Rock.
Oh, your top 4 is going to be amazing.
Okay,
why, mate? Why? What? The great one.
Well, again, trendsetter, yes. Obviously, moved from the Attitude Era was basically there was Attitude Era. The AEW talk about the 4 pillars, right? And their 4 pillars, fucking shit compared to the 4 pillars of the WWE. You look at the 4 pillars of maybe the Attitude Era. They're going to be on my list. So I'm not going to reel them off, but he was one of them. The only thing I would say that prevented him from maybe going higher was because he left for Hollywood as early as he did. He come back, he could still do it, but I would have liked to have still seen him in a WWE for another 3, 4, maybe 5 years before venturing off to Hollywood.
And he got a lot of heat, didn't he, when he originally left? A lot of heat, and he was all like, "Call me Dwayne, don't call me The Rock." He kind of tried to. He's embraced it now, which is good. The more he's more clued up about Hollywood, and he understands it. Though wrestling is literally in his blood. But when he first left, and he went and made the Mummy Returns.
Something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mummy Returns.
Mummy Returns. He didn't want to. He called me Dwayne. I remember like WWF Todd Pettingill, I think, was trying to interview him or something, and he was very much like, "No, my name's Dwayne. I was a wrestler," and everyone. And I remember the wrestling world, like the chants of Rocky sucks throughout the. I think he done a promo. Something was coming up. It was either a WrestleMania, and he was just done a thing from Hollywood. He come on the Titantron and got booed out of the building. But yeah, I mean, mate, I've got a Brahma bull tattooed on my arm for a reason. He is the Rushmore of wrestling. He's on there, in my opinion. He is on there, mate. So yeah, that was your number 5. My number 5 is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Hey, here we go.
So into the top 5 now, mate. One of my favorite the top 5. I think I might have changed it twice in even writing this. I was like, do I have him high up? But then I was like, when we'll get to it in a minute, and I was like, I can't. We're going to get into the reasoning. For me, though, Bret Hart was. When you think wrestling and you speak to people that don't know wrestling, they always say the news, Hulk Hogan and Big Daddy, and especially over here in the UK, we get it all the time, don't we? From people that never watch it, Big Daddy and John H. Jackson, they'll say, "Oh, Hulk Hogan's still wrestling." The Ultimate Warrior, by the way, not in anyone's top 10. And if you think for what they did for the business. Ultimate Warrior. I know we're kind of segueing here. Wow.
Funnily enough,
terrible in the ring, but
funnily enough, my best mate's getting married tomorrow. He's done a list.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
He's put Warrior on his honourable mentions.
You've got to. You can't talk about wrestling, and especially if you were the 80s and 90s, and even when you talk to people now, I can speak to people that never ever watched wrestling, and they'll know who Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior are. Yeah. But for me, mate, yeah, Bret is number 5. Absolutely incredible. In ring, amazing. I like the whole America versus Canada thing when they've done that. Do you remember that with Owen and Bulldog and Brian Pillman, Jim the Amber Neidhart? I thought that was one of the best storylines, and that went on. We talk about the Bloodline storyline. That storyline went on for how long? With Bret, and it was against America. Sean they done a show in Montreal, and he had the Canadian flag up his hooter, and mate, that. I wish I could go and watch it. Actually, I wish the Attitude Era was still here. Anyway, I digress. Top 4, mate. Adam. Who's number 4?
Number 4 for me is John Cena. Sorry, look,
Did you see Did you not read our Twitter today?
yeah,
People,
I know someone put John, but look, this is what I'm saying about if we say in top 10 wrestlers, he's not close.
in the top 50.
But when you look at pro mobility, when you look at this, you got to remember that the GOATs are remembered. Look, he won 16 titles, regardless whether you just think he deserves it or not. They put that title on him 16 or 15 times or 16 times, well. So that he carried the company on their back through probably the shittest era in wrestling, in a way, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
He reinvented himself twice. He didn't do many of that. But you've got, again, when you're saying the greatest of all time, he made the merch money. He was the top selling merch guy for
probably still in the top 5 now, I'd say.
Bad Bunny is now, yeah.
Oh.
Would you believe? He done that. You look at he's gone. He's pretty much gone. He'll be back.
Pretty much retired. Yeah, maybe I reckon maybe one more at WrestleMania.
Yeah, but yeah, then you got to look at Make a Wish and the shit they done.
Yeah.
If you look at a company, when you say company, I mean, look, I booed the guy for about 15 years. The only thing good about him was he sports Tottenham for me. But like, you can't have this list.
I might boo him now.
Yeah, well, yeah, I might boo him now, but you can't have a list. And it pains me to say it, but you can't have a list without Cena in it. No, you might have done it without him, but I can't, and it pains me because I haven't got Edge on mine. So,
okay, so yeah, that was number. What number was that? Where are we up to? Number 4. So yeah, my number 4. We kind of my number 4 obviously is The Rock. Which is kind of easy. We've talked about that, why we've done for the business. Let's get into our top 3 then, Adam. Here we go. Then this is going to be, I don't reckon we're going to differ too much here. I reckon the orders, actually, I think there's one you've put in purely because I know you fucking love him. And if he ain't in your top 3, I'm going to be very surprised. He ain't in my top 10. And this is where it's going to be fun. Who's your number 3?
Austin.
Hang on. Oh, there's going to be someone missing from your top 2. Oh my God. Okay. Austin 3, go for it.
Well, he was the Attitude Era, right? The era that we grew up watching.
Saved wrestling pretty much on his own.
Right. And you look at now and you look at like people that come back for WrestleMania, and you look at Pops or you listen to Pops, that glass goes, everyone shits themselves. Everyone jumped, not literally, but they literally.
Has there been a bigger pop in wrestling than the glass?
Well, I think they're going to have to start bringing it back for some of these crowds they're going to at the minute because they're crap.
This is me and you watched wrestling the days before crowd noise was pumped in. Let's
FYI
for all our listeners listening now.
Well, the days before you sit there with your phones getting the entrances, we were popping through our arseholes.
But do you reckon there's a bigger, especially during the Attitude Era? What I loved about, I know we're going to carry on with the list in a minute. What I loved about Austin was when you didn't know he was coming.
Yeah.
The surprise when he come back at Backlash.
Yeah.
And he was injured then. I saw his interview. He said he didn't really want to do Backlash, but Vince was
like, overweight. He was overweight. Me saying he's overweight, but he was.
He hit Triple H with a chair. He come in. I think he helped The Rock win the title.
He didn't win the title, did he? He got DQ'd and they left it to Triple H.
That's it.
Man, wasn't it?
And he just wiped everyone out with a steel chair. And he was like, "Look, I could barely move my neck." He'd obviously just had his neck refused and everything like that. The Smoking Skull belt is still one of the best belts in WWE history. But he transcend the sport, mate. So yeah, Austin at 3. Okay, mate. Your top 2 is going to be interesting. Number 3 for me, my friend, Hulk Hogan. You can't talk. He gets a lot of shit now, and I'm not particularly a fan of that because if it wasn't for him, I don't think you and I are sitting here now.
Probably not.
You think what he done for that? He literally carried not just a company, wrestling on his back in the 80s, 90s. When the WCW, we can talk about his run in WCW. I'm purely talking about once the territories had all been taken over and Vince went, right, I'm taking that territory, that territory, that territory. I've got it all now. He needed someone to run with that, and he needed someone to be in his main event. We're talking 365 days a year, probably, night after night, 7 days a week, all over America, and then eventually all over the world. He needed someone to carry that company, and that someone was Hulk Hogan. And you can still, till this day, sit in a bar with Billy No Mates and say to him, "You watch wrestling, mate?" He goes, "Nah." Name me one wrestler. First one he'll say will be Hulk Hogan. I guarantee you, everyone in the world, even if you're not a wrestling fan, knows Hulk Hogan. And he tried to go into the movies, and he before Rock and before Cena and before all these people done Hollywood, he made Thunder in Paradise. Was it Thunder in Paradise? Thunder in Paradise? What's called that one?
That's how Bischoff got him.
That's how Bischoff got him. Yeah. I mean, you can't talk professional wrestling without Hulk Hogan.
We will hear from Eric Bischoff very soon, not on the podcast, unfortunately, but we're going to see
Inside the Ropes. Yeah, right. That's going to be an awesome night, mate. I'm really looking forward to that. That guy's got some great stories. But for me, mate, yeah, number 3, in my little notes, I put he gave the world wrestling, and we wouldn't be here. Vince McMahon wouldn't. I don't think Vince McMahon would be as successful in the 80s. And the 90s, and even if you look at the reaction they got when they brought him back. Do you remember that SmackDown episode? The ovation. How long did that go on for? It's the longest.
Do you even remember when the NWO come back?
And
even
Vince McMahon at the back of his chair, wasn't it? I'm gonna poison them.
The Raw after when he took the Rock on, obviously.
Yeah, and he was come out in the black and
they come out in the NWO black and white for the match. The crowd was with him. And then the next night on Raw, I think he was red and yellow.
Yeah.
And that's another ovation where he's just standing there.
Yeah, that ovation went on for a good 15 minutes. You don't get them nowadays. Very rarely do I remember anyone. But yeah, mate, for me, Hogan has to be top 3. Here we go then. Number 2. Who you got?
Undertaker.
Same as me. There you go. Let's clear that up.
We agree on that one.
We agreed on one. Again, mate.
You say about things, there isn't wrestling if there isn't Hulk Hogan. You say the same with him.
Yeah, debuted in Survivor Series in 1990.
You look at loyalty to that brand when he could have easily had done a Nash and a Hall, and they're honourable mentions, by the way. Kevin Nash was on my list for quite a bit of time. Then I realised I'd missed Triple H off of it. But if you look at you look at career reinvention. When he felt as if the Undertaker had needed a change, he brought him back as the American badass, regardless of if Vince liked it or not. And then when he felt as if it was the right time, he brought the Undertaker back. You can argue he should have probably retired earlier. Maybe that is a valid point, but he gave everything for us. Let's face it, for us, for the company. He was loyal. He could have gone to WCW. He stayed where he was. He was Vince's boy. Everyone in that locker room will tell you, and I will say, I don't think I've ever heard a bad thing about that guy. And he gave wrestling. He gave his body to wrestling. He technically gave his body to us.
It was life to wrestling, really. I mean, if you look how long he kept kayfabe up for, it's only in the last 2 years that we're hearing from him. The great documentary that WWE done, and WWE, unreal documentary. Yeah. And that's the first time where you sit back and you're like, oh, he's human. I don't mean that horribly. It's like kayfabe to him was important. He was at an airport. He was the Undertaker. He was out in a shopping mall. He was the Undertaker.
He was on a date with Jenna Jameson as the Undertaker.
As the Undertaker. Yeah, I remember he told that story. But yeah, for me, mate, what can you say that hasn't already been said? Ministry of Darkness, American Badass. You know, some of the first ever Hell in a Cell. You know, Mick Foley. These iconic moments.
The first one was Michaels, wasn't it?
Michaels and
the next one was
next one was Taker.
Yeah. But I'm so happy that I got a chance to meet him.
Yeah. I've met him twice. Mate, yeah. If he ever, it's going to happen again because he'll do something. I'm definitely going. But yeah, you buried alive matches. You know what I mean? Inferno matches against
Boiler Room
Brawl against Mick Foley.
Oh, and don't forget the Concrete Crypt.
How could I forget?
The last ride match, Punjabi Prison match.
Prison. Gee, we could do a top 10 of worst gimmick matches ever in
most of them are like TNA. Do you remember the reverse Royal Rumble, whatever it was? Digress.
Number 1 for me is going to be no surprise, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay. Number 1 for me.
You better say what I think you're going to say.
Hogan.
Where's it? Is Edge not in your top 10?
I told you, I just said he wasn't.
I'm shocked.
I said that he wasn't in my top 10 about 10 minutes ago.
I must have, I missed it. I can't believe Edge isn't in your top 10. I'm shocked. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. Anyway, Hogan above Austin. Why?
Well, you said it all in your bit. Like,
Gay Rush Wrestling.
without him, there isn't an Austin.
But without Austin, wrestling doesn't get. I reckon WWE goes down the tube. I don't reckon WWF exists without Austin. I reckon WCW wins. Vince McMahon's said in. No, mate. It's a toss up. I could easily. I'm the same as you, mate. I had Hogan. One point he was my number one, then he was two, and I'm thinking, oh Jesus, Undertaker, and then like you say, we're not even talking about Scott Hall, Razor Ramon in there, but for me, Austin saved the WWF. Literally, they were going out of business, and they got so lucky with him. That Jake the Snake promo, but again, you could say the same with Hogan. It, like you say, if it wasn't, and when he went to WCW, that NWO still talked about now. It's still talked about now, mate. So yeah, it's.
I wanted to put Edge on this list, but I have to look at it from a perspective of realism.
Okay.
No,
mate, it's a great list. Honestly, like you say, this is such a good subject. We could literally sit here all night, and we've only got an hour. Otherwise, we won't be able to put this on YouTube. So we've got about 15 minutes left. Let's go through it. So you said one of your pals. Let's go through some.
The groom for tomorrow.
Oh, hello. Okay. I hope do you mean he's going to be listening to us the night before his wedding? Dude, what a great night! What a night before the wedding!
What a stag!
What a stag that's going to be, me and you.
So he said, and I'll quote everything he said. He said, "As a former fan who's not really clued up on modern wrestling, but there are many factors, and he's overall on him personally. Obviously, doesn't go into reasons. You only get 160 characters on Twitter. Number 1 was Brett. 2 was Triple H. 3 was Angle. 4 was Benoit." 5 was Stone Cold. 6 was Steamboat.
Oh, great shout, by the way. By the way.
7 was Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect.
Yep.
You put Andre at 8. Interesting. I don't know why.
Each to their own. Each to their own.
HBK at 9, Taker at 10. He put honourable mentions: Cena, Hogan, Flair, Edge, Warrior Savage, Rock, Piper, Sting, and Edge as his honourable mentions.
That's a good list. Andre the Giant. Again, though, goes back to earlier. I mentioned wrestling. Everyone's going to know Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that. Let's go through some of the lists because we are running short on time. Jonathan Noakes messaged our at HTT Buckle. Number 1, Bret Hart. You're going to fucking hate this. Number 2, William Regal. Number 3, The Undertaker. Number 4, Shawn Michaels. Number 5, Fit Finlay. Number 6, Eddie Guerrero. Number 7, AJ Styles. Number 8, Chris Jericho. Number 9, Davey Boy Smith. And number 10, the most overrated wrestler of all time, Ric Flair.
I didn't have him in, and we didn't have Flair in our 10s.
He ain't making my top 100.
The problem with Flair is...
Can't stand him. Overrated is a word that gets used a lot in wrestling.
Don't get me wrong, like 80s, everything like revolved around him. He's one of those ones a lot like why I can't put Roman Reigns in yet. Roman has been relevant for 10 years. And he's been this run for the last 2 years has been legendary. Yes, granted. But he's not there yet.
He's not there yet. No, someone did tweet us. Apologies for forgetting the tweet, but they were like, "Do you put Roman Reigns in the conversation?" He's getting there to make the top 10. You could put him in at 10 or 9, maybe.
I think that was someone called Pain_21.
There you go, Pain_21. We appreciate your tweet. But yeah, it was yeah.
See, then we got Sting.
No, not in the top 10.
No,
WCW. Doing the WCW top 10.
This is the different. Yeah, that's a different.
Doing WCW top 10. He's in the top 3 because him and Lex Luger. No one's mentioned.
Then you have to say Flair for WCW.
Yokozuna. Yeah.
Flair for WCW.
We've got about 10 minutes left. Otherwise, you won't be able to put this on YouTube. Haymaker Z, one of my good friends, Washington Commanders fan. His top 10 is really interesting. Number 1, Stone Cold. Number 2, The Rock. Number 3, John Cena. Number 4, The Taker. Number 5, HBK. Number 6, Triple H. Number 7, Flair. Number 8, Hollywood, Hulk Hogan. In his brackets, he's put worst in the ring. Number 9, Chris Jericho. Can't be a top 10 without him. Number 10, Mick Foley, because I quote my good friend Haymaker Z, because he's Mick fucking Foley. Honorable mentions to Dusty Rhodes, Kane, Andre the Giant, Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Dusty Rhodes.
Bret Hart, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Roman Reigns. Z has put in there. Yeah, how have we not mentioned Dusty Rhodes, by the way, Adam?
Jeez, that is a shout. I don't know. You could literally move some of these off and add some of them on, and again, it is a point of opinion over anything else.
No,
Dusty Rhodes Steamboat and Rhodes is two great shouts.
Again,
I tell you another one more recent. Where's Randy Orton?
Of all time?
Yeah.
Where are you putting him? If you had to put him in, where would you put him?
I'd take Jericho out.
Lucky you're one of my best mates. Beef kebab. I'm trying to find Keith. He was trying to jump on the podcast today. Oh my god, he's going to bloody kill me if I don't find his top 10. Talk amongst yourself, Adam. Yeah, talk amongst yourselves, mate.
Did he do it to the Twitter?
I think so. I'm hoping so. But James Gray, is that? Did you already go through?
That's my group.
So you went through James as well. Yeah, congratulations, James. I hope the wedding goes well, mate. And I hope you're coming down the aisle to the Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No, I'm going to bring him down to Highway to Hell.
Yeah, he's getting married.
Or Judgment Day. Do you remember the song "The End Is Near"?
Yes. Yeah. We're saying congratulations, but he's getting married. Also, condolences, mate. No, but all joking aside, mate, I hope the big day goes well tomorrow, and I hope Adam doesn't screw his speech up. But he won't.
I won't screw it up.
He's a funny guy.
As I said, it's in there, up there for thinking, down there for dancing.
Down there for dancing. Why can I not find Keith's top 10? He's going to absolutely kill me.
Are you sure he put this on there? Because I've gone through everything.
I'm hoping he did. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was just rambling like he does.
Well, Hog Farmer Keith.
That's him. Good old Keith.
Right?
Have you got his top 10 anywhere? Can we find it?
Not saying I got his top 10. I found his tweet. I found his Twitter. Sorry. Hang on. I can name who I'm having in. I can name loads who I'm having in my list.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's it. He didn't actually name it. We just said who he's having in his list.
Come on now.
Who'd he put in?
No, he didn't.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm saying, Keith, come on now. You should have.
I know. Well, Keith, send us your top 10 list, mate, and we will get into it at another date. But I'm just making sure that I haven't missed anyone on Twitter. Quite a few people got in contact with us today.
I think they were saying about NWO as well, and people that.
Mate, imagine we can. With the one next time we do this, we'll want to go through the women as well, because that top 10, that's going to be interesting.
Well, that was bullshit because they had Sasha Banks at 2, the chatbot. What the fuck are they talking about? I'm sorry.
Not in my top 10.
Listen, she's a great competitor, right? But she's also an absolute immature fuck. Like, she doesn't get what she wants. She cries and fucks off.
Yeah, no, that sounds great for me. Wrestling, mate, it happens. But yeah, so we'll do this again. We might even do it this time next week if we've got time. Adam's back with loads of interviews. I'm doing some podcasts with him. We're quite busy, but yeah, it was interesting to do the top 10. Like you say, the wrestlers we've objective. You could do top 10s of wrestlers never to win a title in the big one. You know, $1 Million Man.
Top 10 entrances or themes. You could try and get 10 themes.
Oh, my Warrior's got to be in the top 5. Okay. Remember when he WrestleMania? What was the one where Sid and King Kong Bundy were kicking the crap out of Hogan?
It wasn't King Kong Bundy, it was Sid and Papa Shango.
Sid and Papa Shango, sorry. Were kicking the crap out of Hogan. That went.
I remember it.
No, WrestleMania
10.
No, way before that. 10 was at Madison Square Garden. 10 was at Madison Square Garden with Brett and Owen.
It wasn't 9.
It wasn't 8. 7 was the Macho Man retirement match against Warrior. Was it 5?
Hogan Warrior.
Was it 5? No, it wasn't that. Oh my God, when was it? 7 was Macho Man Warrior retirement match. Was it 8? No, it wasn't that. It was early on. Theme music hadn't been long in wrestling that long. I want to say 5 or 6. You know that?
It weren't 6. It was Hogan Warrior was 6. It weren't 5 either.
Got to be 8 or 9.
Hold on, quickly.
Got to be 8 or 9.
Hold on.
I'm just going to see it.
8.
8, mate. When that, because no one, he wasn't meant to. He'd been off injured, and go and watch
holding
that
the company up as well.
Yeah, I think he was, mate. He didn't last long after that comeback, by the way. But go and watch that. Go and watch that. Once you've subscribed to our channel, go and watch that on YouTube. You talk about pops, Adam. Wow.
Oh yeah. Top 10 pops. There you go. It's another one.
Oh mate, we'll do this. Me and you will sit down and we'll thrash this out. This could be another weekly thing that we're fucking great. We're going to do another weekly thing. We're going to do. But
Dave want to do one.
We'll get Dave on. We'll do one. We'll get a few. We'll get Fiona on. We can do. We got all. We'll get Rachel on. We get all the Buckle team on. So we can all do it. But Adam, what have we got coming up quickly, mate? We've got a few minutes left before we you don't all the guests, but I know we've got obviously July the 23rd. We've got Buckle Up. With Ignite down in Borehamwood. If you still haven't got your tickets, check our Twitter out at HTT Buckle. Tickets are selling fast. They've announced, honestly, UK wrestling. If you want to see some of the best talent, July the 23rd, Bournemouth. Come and hook up with me and Adam. Come say hi, and you will honestly see one of the best afternoons/evenings of wrestling that you've seen in this country. I promise you.
Yeah. In terms of guests, Friday I've got an NWA one with Fee, Jack Stain. He's an absolute fridge. We're not going to go on about the review shows. Obviously, we've got pay-per-views to review, but we've got Nick Hausman on Wednesday.
Nice.
Interesting, considering he's had another Twitter beef today.
Good. It's always good timing with us.
Yeah, we got Yestin Reese, who's a Welsh wrestler, on 1st of June. He just won a heavyweight title, just come back off injury. The 6th of June, we've got Matt Cardona's queen of the death match, the baddest bitch on the indies, Steph Delander. And on the 7th, we've got Ignite Breakout, Harrison Leon. And then we've got Angelina Love on the 15th. And I'll stop it there.
Better get it on. Better get some hair gel in for that. Get your hair gel out for that one, Ads.
Yeah.
But no, Ads, I've enjoyed doing the top 10, mate. No doubt when we put this show out, people will be messaging us saying, "Oh, no, how is he?" And
yeah, I can't wait for that.
It's honestly good. But go and check us out on social media. You can find us on YouTube. Just type in Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. Apple, Google, Spotify, just type in Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. We're trying to get our name out there. We're getting everywhere. Adam's doing some absolutely great things with some of these interviews. I know I can't make them all, but Adam, you're doing an absolutely sterling job, my friend, mate. It's a pleasure to actually do this with you. But no doubt we will be back somehow. We've got a lot of wrestling over the weekend. We've got a pay-per-view. We've got NXT. We've got SmackDown was pre-taped. Anyone watching?
Yeah, I think we can leave SmackDown off the list.
Yeah, I already know the results of SmackDown. I've already seen
I think if we're going to redo it, we've got to do a Night of Champions review. NXT, we don't really watch enough of it to review it. No. So I think I've got to do one with Dave as well, Double or Nothing. I've got a preview show, Sunday with the guys from Honor the Elite.
That's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome. It's probably going to be better than the pay-per-view. But Adam, it's time to get out of here, my friend. I will catch up with you soon. Like I say, go and check us out on all the socials at HTT Buckle on Twitter, YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. You can find us absolutely everywhere. Same on Facebook. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been another great episode of the Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. I've been your host, Andy Burrows, with my good buddy and tag team partner, Mr. Adam Cousins. Till next time, everybody, down and stay safe.